Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and I'm doing this live show to talk a little bit about geopolitics, some of the major events that have occurred in the past few days. And in that context, the idea is to basically start a conversation about geopolitics, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions. And if you have any comments, I might even react to those comments. And as usual, members of Conversations, as well as those of you who are providing with super chats and super thanks, will be the first whose questions will be addressed and then answered. So today I'm going to talk about some of the major events that have occurred in the broad geopolitics arena. The number one event that I think is very significant is that there is a discussion planning going on between the US and China to have uh, a trade deal. And so this week, coming week, on Monday, China and the US are going to meet. The Chinese delegation and the US delegation, they've been having serious conversations about various aspects of it. And as you are aware, Donald Trump had initially raised the tariffs against China to up to 145, and China had raised it to 125 in response. And then, as this dialogue began, uh, the U.S. Then Donald Trump reduced the tariffs down to 30, and 30 is also it's 10 plus 20, which means 10 is the basic that he wants to keep against all countries all the time, and then the 20% that he is using to encourage China to cut the supply chain for fentanyl, opioids, which is basically a synthetic drug which is killing a lot of Americans. Uh, so that is the goal of that dialogue. But lately, uh, things were not going as well. And so Donald Trump retaliated by essentially announcing that Chinese students who are here, international students, there are about 277,000 Chinese students studying in America. They are the second largest number after India. So basically, Marco Rubio announced that he is going to be very aggressively revoking the visas of many of these Chinese students, especially those who are studying critical areas, such as those who are doing their PhDs in nuclear physics or artificial intelligence or chemistry, basically any science that can lead to giving China a technological advantage over the US or giving Chinese some kind of a weapons capabilities, those kind of visas. But I must also alert you that just revoking visa does not necessarily mean you have to go back to the country. Visa is just an entry document. So if you are an international student and your visa has expired, but if you're maintaining your status as an international student, taking the required number of credits, etc., then you can still stay legally. But I think it's quite possible that Trump is going to threaten to send some students back. But China responded by suddenly squeezing the exports of rare earth elements, especially warning the US not to take such aggressive measures against China. And you can see suddenly the prices of cars is going up, and even manufacturing of cars in many countries has suddenly been affected, especially uh, the electric vehicles. So China has some weapons and it started using it. So that's one broad area of geopolitics that we need to concern with. The second one is obviously the Russia-Ukraine situation, where the Ukrainians pulled off a significant, uh, shall we say, a terrific military maneuver where they smuggled drones into Russia in trucks and then launched them from the trucks. Now that is really, really a new development. If it was done against any Western country, we would have accused a lot of people of terrorism. But this is basically they smuggled drones in trucks into various parts of Russia and then launched those drones from within Russia to target various airports. And they claim that they have destroyed one third of China's strategic military uh, strategic bombers fleet. The Russians, what is interesting to me is the Russians immediately acknowledged that that happened. They said many of their fighter bombers were burnt, and they are fixing them and they are repairing them. But since then, Russia has been retaliating in an extraordinary fashion. They have bombed several cities, especially Kiev and Kharkiv, and they have caused a lot of damage to Ukraine. And Trump's response was stunning. Uh, Trump's response was surprising. He says, "Looks like they don't want to peace. They are like kids fighting in a playground." The, see, the whole purpose of having this extraordinary military mission, which was reasonably successful for Ukraine, was to suggest to the Western countries, look, we are fighting, we're doing a great job, we are fighting against Russia. We can actually win this if you give us more weapons, give us more support, more aid. So that's what Ukraine was hoping, that America would say, wow, that was a fantastic thing that you guys did. You are so brilliant. Here are more guns, here are more bombs, here are more dollars. Continue your fight against Russia, destroy it. But that didn't happen. Trump was not very impressed, and basically, there is no progress on the Russia-Ukraine front. Uh, the only successful thing that is going on that front is exchange of bodies. The third major development is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was until recently not invited to G7, and people were all speculating as to why he was not invited. Is this because of the bad relationship between the U.S., between Canada and India, or is this the diminishing the importance of Indian international affairs? And then Carney called Modi and invited him, and surprisingly, Modi accepted him because while there was criticism that he was not getting any reservation, all his proxies, especially Smita Prakash, the chief editor of ANI, Asian News International, ANI, she made all this big presentation about as to how G7 had become irrelevant. I don't understand how G7 could be irrelevant. It has 10 biggest economies in the world. It is basically NATO and Japan. And anyway, so both Palki Sharma and Smita Prakash called it irrelevant, that G7 had become irrelevant. And even if Prime Minister Modi was invited, he would not accept the invitation to go to Canada, because India and Canada's relationships are not really very good at the moment, because of all the accusations that Canada made against India in the past year, and they had withdrawn their high commissioners. Canada now has a foreign minister of Indian origin, Anita Anand, and she had called and spoke with Jaishankar, and so there is an attempt to improve and reset India-Canada relations. Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, was took some questions from a very aggressive reporter, and I'm sure many of you must have seen that uh, interview of Carney, in which he was first asked, did he believe that Modi was personally connected with the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Sikh leader in Canada who India accuses of being a terrorist. Uh, and he did not say, no, I don't think Modi was not involved. His answer was legalist. So, for example, he said, well, I'm not going to comment on an ongoing case. Well, the reason why you don't comment on an ongoing case is because you don't know either way which way it would go, and so you would become wrong. Plus, if you're an important person, you might sway the direction in which the investigations are going. That's why you stay quiet. But this is a very interesting question. It was a simple question that, do you think that Modi was involved in the murder of Hardeep Singh? And Carney could say, no, I don't think that it was at the prime minister's level. At some lower level, Indian intelligence agents may have done this. He could have said that, but he did not say that. Then he was asked, why was India invited in spite of the bad relations? He explained that India is the fifth biggest economy, and India is critical to the supply chain, and so Canada cannot, ignore India. But he also said that there is an agreement with India. There's a bilateral agreement that there will be continuation of legal accountability. So basically, he's saying that India has made some concession on collaborating or cooperating with India on the investigations about the killers of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And because India is now respecting the Canadian rule of law, uh, this has given Carney the opportunity or the excuse to invite Modi. See, one of the things that has happened to a lot of countries, which has completely upset their foreign policy and their strategic goals, is the election of Donald Trump and his completely disruptive foreign policy. So Canada now suddenly finds that its best friend, its closest ally, its biggest trading partner is now hostile to it to the point of threatening its existence as a country. Trump has, on more than one occasion, said he would like to make Canada the 51st state of the United States. I mean, that's like threatening a country and saying, we're going to conquer you and we're going to annex you. And that is a very hostile position to take. So Canada is trying its best now to reorient and restructure its foreign policy. And so it's basically it's trying to deal with three of the biggest economies in the world, China, US, and India. So with the US, its situation is such that it is trying to live in a world in which US is not its friend, not its ally, not its economic partner. So so just 2 days ago, or rather on Thursday, Carney had a long conversation with the number two person, Li Qiang, in China, and they have decided to reset Canada-China relations. And then obviously the King of England came, Prince King Charles came to UK, to Canada, and defended Canada's independence and sovereignty. And then, so Canada is trying to reset its relations with China and also India now by reaching out to Modi, in spite of a lot of controversy inside Canada and tensions and accusations, especially the Sikh community and NDP, the National Democratic Party of Canada, who is a partner with Carney in his government, were very critical of his invitation of Modi. And but Canada has no choice now. If the US is not going to support and back Canada, then it has to make friends with the other big economies. So it's getting closer and closer to UK, and that's why Australia is also invited to G7. Mexico is invited. So is Brazil. So it's trying to reach out to the rest of the world. It's coming closer to Europe, and then also to China and India. So these are some of the developments, the geopolitical developments that have taken place. One interesting development is that Israel is now arming another militia inside Gaza. Remember, in the beginning, in the 1980s, early 80s, Israel helped Hamas come into existence, supported Hamas, even funded Hamas so that it would break the unity of the Palestinians, and supported Hamas against the Palestinian Authority, allowed Hamas to govern in Gaza for a long time. And then Hamas basically became its enemy from its tool. And now Israel is arming other militias, which are basically looters who have been looting all the humanitarian aid because they see them as an alternative to Gaza. They're hoping that this militia and Hamas will keep fighting each other. But I tell you, within a few years, those same militia that Israel is arming now will become Israel's biggest problem. So anyway, those are some of the major geopolitical developments, and so now I'll be happy to read your comments and answer your questions. I see some very familiar faces. Ashok Sausab, good morning to you. And thank you everybody for your Eid greetings. Hussein Fayyad, Eid Mubarak to you too. Sulekh Bapuli, thank you very much. Fayyaz, okay, Fayyad has a question. Is it true Tony Blair is working with Witkoff in Middle East representation? Tony Blair is constantly struggling for his relevance. He has become quite irrelevant after the end of the Obama administration. Biden did not pay much attention to Tony Blair. Tony Blair tried to make a lot of money from the Israeli lobby by trying to explain and mediate on that particular issue. Uh, and uh, and nothing much has happened. I don't think Tony Blair is of any use at all to anybody, including to Witkoff. Why does Witkoff need Tony Blair? He has prime minister. He has the prime minister of Qatar, and he has direct contact now with Hamas. He can call Netanyahu whenever he likes. He has this direct access. What is Tony Blair going to offer? He is going to offer nothing. He's trying to kind of raise his own profile and once again try and become relevant. He's irrelevant to British politics. He's irrelevant to world politics. One more suggestion to you: BBC made a movie called The Trial of Tony Blair. I sometimes used to show that movie to my students. You should watch it. It's very funny, but also very interesting. It basically talks about how ICC prosecutes Tony Blair for war crimes in Iraq, because British invasion of Iraq, along with the US, was in violation of international law. As far as I'm concerned, Tony Blair is a war criminal. He should be in jail. Ravi, happy. Thank you very much, Sultan. If you watched my video that I did about the Modi getting the invitation to G7, I did it from my car. We were traveling, and Sultan was sitting behind me, so you could see him in the video. Uh, Hanuman Verma, is this a good policy to ignore Canada's G7 rather than India's fear of slack? Not really, because G7 is a very important forum. G7 makes policies, which then, because of the presence of the United States, see who is there in G7. These are the top 7 economies, which are also liberal democracies. So you have U.S. Yes, Canada may not be the most important. U.S., Canada, Italy, Germany, France, Britain, and Japan. But Japan is very important economically. It is still the 4th largest economy. India is expected to overtake it this year. The forecasts that you are seeing are for the end of 2026, where India is going to be 4.187 billion, and Japan will be 4.186 billion, if all goes as is expected. So anyway, Japan is still the 4th biggest economy. China is not a democracy. It's not part of the G7. G7 is essentially Western alliance. Most of the countries are members of NATO except Japan. So these NATO countries, which are also democratic, which are also Western, which are also the richest countries in the world, in terms of the size of the economy, they get together and they set geopolitical agendas. I mean, they are the ones who have been supporting Ukraine until now, and so it was able to fight. In a way, there is a geopolitical struggle going on between G7 and BRICS. India is not part of G7. India is part of BRICS, but India is sucking up basically to G7 because it wants to have good relations. It hopes to get technology and money and trade from the US. US is India's biggest trading partner. So Canada is just a venue. So it's like sometimes I get invited to conferences in cities I don't like. So I don't decide not to go to the city, because I go to the conference because the conference is important, and the people I get to meet at the conference. So if I don't like the city, okay, I don't go on the city tour. I just stay in my hotel. So that is what I think Prime Minister Modi should do. He's accepted it already, and it's important he gets to meet Donald Trump, and an opportunity to tell Donald Trump to shut up about the ceasefire issues, and also push the trade bilateral agreement a little further. He gets to meet the Prime Minister of Japan. I don't think he has met him yet, the new one. And then he also gets to meet the British government, with whom India just signed a bilateral trade agreement. So there will be also Lula there from Brazil, and there will be the Mexican president. So he gets to meet all of this. I don't think he has met Sheinbaum, the Mexican president. So it's good in terms of building diplomatic rapport. Uh, so so I think India should attend, regardless of what happens. The problem for Modi is that he's going to have 2 challenges. One, it's quite possible that Trump might, on his face, say, "I call you? Didn't JD Vance call you, and we got you ceasefire?" Then Modi is in a tricky position to deny Trump on his face, to call him a liar or what. It's a challenge. We'll see how he handles it. And the second is if reporters from Canada start talking to him about the Nijjar murder. So India has convinced its own population that it has done it. So Modi will have to now lie to the international forum, saying, "No, we don't do it. This is not our policy." But if he says, "Yes, we did it," then you are no better than any other terrorist country because you're killing foreign citizens in a foreign country. So, so those are the two challenges that he faces if he can find some way to just not answer the questions or whatever. Because anyway, Modi is not so interested in promoting India's interests. He's more interested in promoting himself at home, back home. He doesn't want his performance in Canada to impact the elections in Bihar. So I think those are the only two challenges. But I think it's the right thing for the Indian Prime Minister to attend G7 meetings. I feel that because India at least claims to be a democracy, it's now the fourth or the fifth biggest economy. India should either become part of G7 and Italy should be kicked out, or it should become G8 and include India. Is Indians are going to overestimating their Hussein Fayyaz's question is are Indians overestimating their position in global world order? Well, clearly the Indians think that they are the most important country in the world. I mean, there are a lot of Indians come on my channel and say the only reason why America is powerful is because of dollar. And so they think that all this de-dollarization stuff that Modi was doing, talking with Russia and others, was going to finish off America. It's kind of a stupid argument because America is not powerful because of dollar. Dollar is a reserve country because America is the biggest economy and the most powerful country in the world, and America guarantees money. So, for example, if you open a bank account in the United States, every account that you have, let us say you have $1 million, and you break it up into $250,000 and put it in 4 bank accounts. And if those banks shut down and that money is stolen, you will get your money back from the US government. The US government guarantees. So there are lots of such things that the US government does. The dollar is guaranteed, your accounts are guaranteed, your finances are guaranteed. That's why the US is the reserve currency in more than nearly 60% of the world uses the dollar as reserve country. The biggest threat is actually euro because of the eurozone. So European countries keep euro as a reserve currency. That's the only threat. So far, there is no other currency which is even 10% as a global reserve. Euro is around 20%. And China and the Japanese currencies are around 5 or 6%. So yes, the US is still a very powerful country. The global economy is about $115 trillion, 115, 110. The US is about 30% of the global economy, and China is about 15% of the global economy, 15 to 20%. India is around 4% of the global economy, or even less, because it's still not yet $4 trillion. India was 3.9 at the end of March. It will be 4.2 by the end of this year. So it'll be about 4 or 3.5% of the global economy. That's not very important if you look at it that way. But then if you look at it in comparison to Africa, then India's economy is bigger than the economy of the entire continent of Africa put together. So yes, from a global economic perspective, India is more important than Africa. Oh, by the way, California's economy is bigger than India's economy at the moment. So actually, the fourth biggest economy in the world is California. Uh, Flying B, isn't it stupidity on part of Liberal Party in Canada to have given more importance to a separatist group rather than the fifth largest economy? Flying B, it's about domestic politics, right? So even Carney did not win outright majority, and Carney is now also supported by the National Democratic Party (NDP) as Trudeau was. So as long as the Liberals are unable to win the election outright, look at Narendra Modi. He did not win the election in India, and he's supported by Nitish Kumar. He's like an Nitish Kumar keeps changing his parties every other day. I think I don't change my shirts that often. I think this is the second or third show I'm doing in this shirt. But Nitish Kumar changes his party more often than I change my shirt, and he's supporting Modi in the parliament because Modi needs those support, and he also has the support of the Andhra Pradesh chief minister, and he's going to help. In exchange for his support, he's going to give billions of dollars to build a new city in Andhra Pradesh. So you have to get political coalitions are formed in such a way, and so for the liberals in Canada, they needed NDP to support them. There's this Quebec party that also could support them, but they don't have a common agenda. So NDP is like a liberal party, but they are heavily influenced by a segment of the Sikhs of Canada. I must remind you that not all Sikhs in Canada or elsewhere are Khalistanis, but there is a large concentration of Khalistani supporters in Canada. And in India, there is no Khalistan movement. It's finished. It's over. There was this one guy called Amrit Pal Singh who actually is a member of the parliament, but I think he's also in jail. So there is no activism for Khalistan in India. I think India can afford to ignore the Khalistan movement, but India, for whatever reason, chose not to and went after Hardeep Singh Nijjar, also tried to kill Gurpatwal Panno in the US and got caught trying to do that red handed. So, yes, the Canadians have no choice. And so, but if you notice, Trudeau was very accommodating of the Khalistani movement, and Carney is not. But let me also tell you that what what Carney's government is doing uh, is not necessarily for Khalistanis. Any country would be very upset if a foreign country is coming inside uh, its borders and killing its citizens. Uh, that is unacceptable. I mean, what happens to your sovereignty? Can you imagine? There are lots of very anti-Muslim, nasty members in the Hindutva party, BJP, Bajrang Dal. So if tomorrow Turkey and Pakistan and other Muslim countries start going into India and killing Indian citizens because they said this or that about Islam, what would you call them? That's exactly what India is doing in Canada and Pakistan tried to do in the US. So that's why it's not just because of its support for the from NDP that the Canadians are doing, and yes, they have to balance it. Yes, especially now that its relations with the U.S. has become so tense. Canada needs India because it's the biggest economy. Just because India is the biggest economy, India is not doing anything for Canada really, unless Canada trades with India uh, and and India buys. It's Canada has a lot more to offer to India than India has to offer to Canada. India is sending a lot of people that it doesn't want in India to Canada. Canada is taking away a lot of India's talent. I don't know how much talent is going, but hundreds of thousands of Indians and Punjab residents have transferred to Canada. But Canada has oil, which India can buy. Canada has rare earth materials that India can buy. So yes, India also needs to have good relations. People seem to assume that just because India is the fifth biggest economy, it can afford not to have relations with Canada. Canada is a small country, but still in the top 10. Canada is just 40 million people with $2 trillion economy, and India is 1,400 million. 40 million and 1,400 million. In fact, actually, India is 1,440 million. So China plus Canada is equal to India in population. And Canada is half the size of India's economy. Ismail Muhammad, again, you are here. Thank you very much for your support. What's your question? Ismail has been a strong supporter of Conversations for a long time. He is also a member in the highest category. Sir, in this age of AI and fast, unsubstantiated news, that's a good analogy for AI. The biggest victim is credibility of scholarship. We have seen social media trying to fight back. How do you see public perceptions of truth in the future? Oh, that's a very difficult question. That's a serious issue that a lot of people are trying to deal with, how to combat fake news. So, for example, for the last 5, 6 days, every time I go to a YouTube channel, I see a channel that pops up which says uh, uh, Apple left America. Amazon has left America and gone. Those are all fake news channels. I don't know who is producing them, China, Iran, or whatever. Some anti-America source is producing these fake videos. It's bothering me that it's showing up in my YouTube thing. Did I by accident click one of this? I may have the first time, but it keeps popping up, and the whole thing is fake. Then there is this whole thing about Denzel Washington. They're using Denzel Washington's name to say that he made this or that comment. That's also not true. And I have a feeling that very soon they will be using fake deep fakes where videos and voices and faces of people. So imagine you're seeing a video in which you see Donald Trump saying something. We already see the jokes, right? The Eid jokes of Shehbaz Sharif and Donald Trump dressed up as Tablighi Jamaat members going for Qurbani. So those kind of memes have been already created. So now the videos, Imran Khan used AI to generate speeches. They were all AI generated speeches and videos for his campaign. So yes, AI is going to create a lot of problems. And so what is going to happen is we will have to use AI to combat AI. Even before the fake news period, there was a change with the rise of Fox News in America and rise of Republican channel in India, for example. He says a lot of lies and gets away with it. So what was happening was that people were not searching for news; they were searching for views. So channels had become more important. So in the past, people would go looking for news. So there was this slogan saying that if you wanted in-depth analysis, you go to BBC, but if you want quick and very quick coverage, breaking news coverage, you go to CNN. But it's not like that. People are not going to CNN because it's providing you with news immediately. People now go to CNN and MSNBC is because it's providing you a liberal point of view. And then people go to Fox, not because it's providing you with more accurate news. You're going to Fox because it's providing you with views. These days, if you watch anchors on TV or anywhere else, my show is just a views show. I'm not giving you news, right? So my argument is I'm a professor, I'm a scholar, I do research, and so I provide you with a lot of information, and a lot of stuff that I do here is also useful for my students. But people where you have anchors now who have point of view, like Smita Prakash of ANI, for example. She came out and made this whole video saying G7 is irrelevant, and even if Modi is invited, he will not go. And the next day, Carney invites Modi, and Modi says yes. So I mean, she must be looking foolish, and she can't delete that video. Obviously, then more people will make fun of her. But why did she need to do that? That was not news. What was news was that Canada had not invited India yet. It had already invited Mexico and Brazil and South Korea, but not India yet. India was the last country to be invited. So that is news. And maybe you would ask this question: what does this mean politically? But to come and speak on behalf of Modi and to attack and say this is irrelevant. Now suddenly G7 is relevant. If G7 is irrelevant, then you should ask the Prime Minister, why are you wasting your time? You should be busy trying to catch the terrorists who committed the crimes in Pahalgam who have not yet been caught. You left that and you're going all the way to this irrelevant event in Alberta, Canada, a country with whom we don't even have good relations. So that's the problem, that it has become more about perspective, ideological viewership. And news is also proliferating. Like I have the whole Google News designed to serve me. I pick topics and countries and issues, and so Google News gives me a personal newspaper every day. So yes, there are something great that is happening with AI and other intelligence, but something terrible. Now when you do a Google search, the first item that you get is generated by AI. So you have to be more sophisticated. We live in a highly sophisticated world. So everything around us is very sophisticated. And what you need to do is become sophisticated. Ismail, on the question of I want to share an experience. 3 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, I used to have a Lexus that was I don't know why I spent so much money on that car. But anyway, I used to drive this hybrid Lexus, and I was giving a lecture in my good governance class on smart cities and the use of Internet of Things. Internet of Things is the connection between uh, like my phone, and this is connected. I can do AirDrop. That is Internet of Things. So after I finish teaching my class, it's around 9 p.m. I come and sit in my car. As soon as I sit in the car, and I've had this car for 2 years, the car, as soon as I sit in the car and turn it on, the car says, there is no traffic and you will reach home in 7 minutes. And I was like, whoa, I didn't ask you anything. And I was a little zapped as to what the hell should I do with this. So I called my son, and my son is much smarter than I am, and he knows a lot more stuff about these things. I said, Rumi, what happened? My car just spoke to me. He said, what? He just spoke to me. He said, your car speaks. I said, oh, I didn't know that. He said, yeah, you don't use that, but your car talks about lots of things. You can ask it things, it will answer those things to you, but you're not using that. I said, okay, but I didn't trigger anything. I just sat in the car and turned it on, and it tells me that I will reach home. So he thought for a second and he said, did you upgrade your phone? I said, yeah, I updated the operating system on my iPhone. He said, so it's not the car that is talking to you, it's the phone that is talking to you, and it's using the car because you don't use Siri. I said, aha. So my phone was desperate to communicate with me, and because I was not using Siri, it spoke to me through the car. And I also then, the next day, I had a lot of fun talking about it to my students. I said, behind my back, my phone and my car were having an affair, and I didn't even know that. So, yes, there are a lot of wonderful things that we can do with technology, but they're also very dangerous. I think anything, so we live in a more sophisticated world, and I think users need to become more sophisticated. The only challenge with AI is the AI's learning speed is so much more than ours, especially for older people. uh Lalan Ray, I don't give news, Lalan Ray. That's what I just told you. I'm not a news channel. Bihar election result from 22, everyone knows 2000% BJP alliance will win. Okay. Yeah, we saw they are good at rigging elections now. So yes, the guarantee before elections clearly says that they are going to rig it. Fine. What is the basic difference between Indian approach to foreign affairs and Pakistan? Pakistan's to get its way many times despite. That's a very good question. So India's approach to foreign policy has always been that we are a great civilization, we have been a great country in the past, and we are a democracy, and we like to have good relations with everybody. So India has the original non-aligned movement approach that India had. It still has that, and Dr. Jaishankar tried to tweak it by saying non-aligned movement in the past was that we are not connected, we are not taking sides with anybody, we are not joining the Western NATO, we are not joining the Soviet Union or Warsaw Pact. So we are not a part of the capitalist countries, we are not part of the communist countries, we are non-aligned. So now India has flipped that to say, well, what we are doing is that we are multi-aligned. So in the past, we were not aligned with anybody. Now we are aligned with everybody. So we will be part of the Quad with America, and we will still buy the Russian oil. We will buy Rafale from France, which is a Western country, but we will also buy Sukhois from Russia, which is a non-Western country. So we will have relations with Iran, and we will also have relations with Israel. So that is what India's foreign policy has been. So there's a lot of strategic thinking behind India's foreign policy. India's goals are very big. India wants to become a very important country. India wants to become part of the Security Council. India wants to become a permanent member of the Security Council. India wants to be part of global governance. It wants to be part of World Bank, influential in World Bank, in IMF, in other parts of the world. It wants to be the leader of the global South. It's competing with China for that position. Pakistan has much limited goals. A lot of its foreign policy and defense policy is generated by its desire for Kashmir. So that dominates it. But what Pakistan has done is leveraged its strategic geography very well. So during the Cold War, Pakistan joined the US lobby, and therefore Pakistan always had better weapons than India. They had Phantom fighters, they had Patton tanks, etc. It's just that they were a smaller and weaker country. So, but they benefited a lot from the US during the Cold War because they side aligned with the US. And then in the post-Cold era, they have aligned with China, and so you can see them benefiting from the weapons and foreign aid that China is giving. So they have constantly leveraged and allowed themselves to be used. So being strategically autonomous is India's goal, not Pakistan. So that is the difference. Have they been more successful? No. Pakistan is not as respected as India is globally. In fact, India now enjoys more support in Muslim countries mostly than Pakistan does. I did an interview with Ambassador Talmiz Ahmed, and he contrasted it very beautifully as to how India can do things for the Middle Eastern countries economically, talent wise. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Indians work in all the Gulf countries. Pakistan is a strategic partner and in security terms, and that's the limit of it. So you could argue that India's foreign policy has been more successful than Pakistan's. But Pakistan lately is looking pretty good because Donald Trump has basically elevated the status of Pakistan. Only yesterday, he made the comment that the leadership of Pakistan is very strong and good. And I know some people are not going to like it. And he was referring to India, obviously. So I think that I think Pakistan's foreign policy has not served Pakistan well. Pakistan is still a mess economically. It is constantly borrowing money. So it is successful in staying afloat, but it has not earned the respect of the world. Uh, but then I don't know how to explain the fact that it recently won a very important election in the UN to become member of an anti-terrorism on the Taliban committee, and it's on two committees that it has won elections to. So maybe they're getting lucky in some sense. Uh, Congress government, Hussein Fayaz, any views on what Erdogan's up to? Hussein, Erdogan is not well. Erdogan is very worried that the support for AKP has gone down. The support for AKP has, I don't know, but he's very happy with what is happening in Syria. So Turkey has finally won Syria. There was a competition between Iran and Turkey on Syria. So finally, Israel did it for them. Israel basically demolished the Iranian presence in Syria, and so did the US. And now, with the help of former Al Qaeda people, Syria is now under Sunni control. And so Turkey is now the most important non Israel, non US player inside Syria, and that has also cut off Iran from Lebanon. Can't support Hezbollah as it used to in the past. So Turkey is enjoying some geopolitical success in Syria. It was very important for the Turks to ensure that Syria remains under Sunni control, not under Kurdish control or Iranian control. In fact, there were some analysts a few years ago who were predicting a Turkey-Iran war because over Syria, but the war was fought through proxies. Uh, Erdogan is worried that his legacy will be overruled. Imamoglu, the mayor of former mayor of Istanbul, who is now in really bad condition, who was arrested and stuff like that for corruption, is very popular. And it is quite possible that the next presidential election, Erdogan will be too old to run. And it's not very clear who will be his successor. Uh, Fidan, who used the foreign minister, is expected to take over. But remember, he comes from the intelligence background, Hakan Fidan, and so Hakan Fidan doesn't have the charismatic presence in Turkey that Erdogan had. So it is quite possible that if Erdogan passes away or does not become the president in 2029 or 28, 28, when the next election is, then you will see more secularization of Turkey, and less influence of AKP. That is what Erdogan is worried about at the moment. But the economy is recovering. Turkey is back. Turkey is doing very well. Turkey, to, to those of you who are in India, Turkey is, from an economic and development point of view, at that point today where Modi hopes India will be in 2047. The economic target of Viksit Bharat for 2047 is to become a high income economy, which in 2047 will be about 20,000 per capita GDP. India is today 2,800. Turkey's per capita GDP is 13,000. It is already on the cusp, and it is a high income economy. So you could say that Turkey is today what India hopes to become in 2047, 22 years from now. Cool boy, India's move to approve the Starlink license. Could this indicate a shift in strategy? Uh, I think the approval for Starlink started before Trump and Musk started fighting. So I think India's invitation to Musk to start selling Tesla in India. Now, Musk has announced he has no intention of manufacturing Tesla in India. So, welcoming Tesla and signing contracts with Starlink was, I think, see, first of all, Starlink is itself a good idea. Okay. I even looked at it for myself. Yesterday, when I was driving in my car, I was also uploading videos. So, so while I was driving, so I was using my phone as a hotspot, but that forced me to reduce the quality of the videos, to reduce the size of the video, and to upload it. It took like 1.5 hours to upload the videos. So while I was sitting there, I was getting irritated, and so I looked for Starlink, and I said, "Well, Starlink, can it provide me?" And I noticed that for like 390 or $400, Starlink could give me 100 Mbps. I mean, it won't be as fast as that this internet is, but it would give me pretty much faster than a hotspot on an iPhone. So yes, Starlink is good by itself, regardless of Musk or Trump. But I think India welcomes Starlink, as well as Tesla, hoping to please Donald Trump and get concessions on the bilateral trade agreement. But now that Trump and Musk are not friendly, I don't think India is going to right away cancel Starlink because, like I said, it is a good product. The Ukrainians would have lost the war without Starlink. So it's very important, and in future, all internet connections are going to be space-based. So Starlink is just the beginning. So yeah, Starlink is good for India as a useful tool, especially in some of the places in monsoons, in weathers, in hot weathers, in the mountains, especially in battle situations. Yeah, so Starlink is a good idea, but the geopolitics of it is, I think, becomes suddenly moot because Trump and Musk are not friendly anymore, and the chances of them, I think, they can fix if Musk gives more money to Republicans. But Musk is also has a very big ego, so we'll see what happens on that front. Mandal, Starlink not fully approved yet. Let us see what happens of it. The Ambanis and the Adanis have a lot of influence in India, and they will be obviously unhappy to see Starlink and Elon Musk entering that space which Ambani's dominate. So we will see what happens with that. So I think I have exhausted all your questions and comments. Thank you everybody for watching Conversations. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Do share this link with others. And thank you for watching Conversations. For those of you who are interested in watching the same show, I'm going to do it in 10 more minutes in Hindi on my new channel, which is available for those who watch in India. It's Conversations 2025. That's the new channel. And I'll be on that in 10 more minutes. So thank you for watching, everybody, and good day to you all. Bye.